Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. And we have a reading vlog. So last time you guys saw me, we read literally one book and it took me 3 days to read. And then I kind of went through like a little bit of a reading slump. I just kind of want to get back to myself. Reading a 600-page book just kind of take a lot out of you if you're someone like me, I guess. And so I just took a little bit of a break, but I want to come back and read some shorties, read some short books that I really wanted to get to by the end of the summer, because we are now at the place where we are saying that we are trying to finish our TBRs before the end of the summer, get through all our reads that felt like summer reads. It's time to crack down. So I have 3 books that I am so excited to read. Like, this has been a long time since I have been like, I need to read this TBR that I have put together. I'm excited for the week. So the first book we are going to maybe not read, but this is the first book I'm gonna show you. It is The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden. Of course I butchered that. Okay, first things first, this cover. I think this might be one of my favorite covers of all time. This book came out in paperback, and I think the paperback has a totally different cover. No. This is the cover. I think this is beautiful, and it is the reason why I purchased this book. But the thing is, I guess this book is well known because this book went on to win the Women's Prize. The Women's Prize was announced a couple months ago, and this book won the Women's Prize. So I guess maybe this is a good book that people are liking, but I have a love-hate relationship with the Women's Prize picks and winners, so that does not mean I am going to love this, but I cannot wait to get into this one. And this is called The Safekeep. I wanted to read it this summer. It felt summery to me for some reason. And pears, I love pears, you guys. I love pears. And that's why this cover speaks to me, because I just think it's so beautiful. And so the next book I thought would be really good for the summer is The Last Couple Standing by Matthew Norman. I believe this is about a book of swingers. I don't know. I could be lying, and I need to stop just saying what I think a book is about when I have no clue and really have never read the synopsis. This just felt summery. The yellow, something about it, last couple standing, last hurrah in the sun. It felt summery to me, and you guys know I love books about couples. I love books about married people, so this feels like it's going to be a good one. And then I don't believe it's close to the end of the summer. I'm not one of those people, but I do believe like this is the time for your end of the summer reads. And The Last House. The Last House just feels end of the summer. When I look back on my year and I see that I read this book at the end of August, it's going to feel like it makes sense. It's going to feel like that was an end of August book. So we're going to read The Last House by Jessica Shattuck. And the cool thing about this video is all of these are new authors to me. I have never read from any of these authors. So let's see if we can find some authors that I want to read more of in the future. That's what we're gonna do. And that's what we're gonna do this week. Nothing crazy. Three pretty short books. Let's see how they go, you know? I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. We are here to come and discuss our first book. You guys are on my desk jacket, pardon me. We are here to talk about The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden. Not quite sure how to pronounce that one. So I'm just going to, well, I have the book right here. I have officially made it to the 100-page mark. Actually, maybe the 120-page mark. Yeah, I'm on page 120 of this book, and this is not a very long book, so I'm really in the book. So this book follows a woman named Isabel who lives on a manor. She lives in a very big house. Where are they? They are in a rural Dutch province of Overijssel, whatever. Anyways, they end up moving here during World War II because they are trying to flee everything going on with Nazism and all of that. They're just trying to flee the war. And so that's how they end up in this manor, living with her uncle. Her uncle had money, and so her mom stayed where they were, but they ended up going to live with her uncle. And they wrote letters to their mom, like, when are you going to come? When are you going to come? Eventually, she does end up coming to the manor and living with them. And she was kind of the, like, girl in the family. She has two brothers, and she was kind of felt like she had to put the family on her back. Like everyone got to be unserious but her, because when her mom got sick, she ended up being the one to take care of her mom while her two brothers went off on their own. She has a brother who has a new girlfriend, because he always has a new girlfriend, and he invites her to dinner. That's where all of this book starts. He invites his girlfriend named Ava to dinner. Eve, whatever. Invites her to dinner, and nobody likes her. She seems very simple. She seems like she doesn't come from a place of privilege. She doesn't know what a scallop is. Like, she's just lived a simple life. So no one really likes her, and our girl Isabel really doesn't like her. And so she kind of tells the other brother, like, hey, do you like our brother girlfriend? The brother kind of like humors her and is like, no, she's weird, just to like make Isabel feel good. But everyone knows Isabel is just being dramatic. Well, one day Isabel has to face Eva head on, because Eva is going to come live with her, because we learned that Isabel's house is not actually Isabel's house. This house was not left for her. Actually, the opposite. Her uncle told her to leave the house, like, go find you a husband, go find you a life. Don't stay at this house forever. And he gives the house to her brother, who is dating the girl. And so the brother is just like, yeah, my girlfriend's going to stay with you while I go away for a little bit, and there's nothing you can do about it, because we all know this is kind of my house and I'm letting you live in it. So the girlfriend ends up moving in, and that really starts our story, because our main character is just disgusted by this girl, and they have to live under the same roof. What do you think is going to happen? Who knows? This book is perfectly good. This is one of those books that I read that I give like 3.75, 4 stars, and I go about my life. It won't be in my best books of the year. It won't be in my worst books of the year. It's just one of those books that I read. I think I said in the intro that women's prize picks are always hit or miss, and usually most of them kind of actually land here for me, where it's just like, I can see why this won the women's prize. I can see why this is important to women. I can see why people would like this and think this is so literary and amazing. But for me, I'm kind of a little bit bored. That's this book. It's not bad at all. Like, not bad at all. It's written really well. It has this mysterious air to it. I think what it's saying about sexuality and coming of age and being a girl in the world, I think all of that stuff is good. But it's just like, it's also not saying anything I personally haven't seen before. So I'm just like in it. I'm just in it. I'm reading it. I'm having a time, like, but not a great time, just a time. Like, it's the book that, like, if someone's like, Kenya, what are you reading? I'm reading the Safekeep. How do you feel about it? It's good. I'm reading a book. That's what it feels like. I don't rush to read the next 50 pages, but I also am not dreading reading the next 50 pages. But like, I'm happy that the book is short. Like, I don't need to be in this world that long. That's how I feel. So I'm not very high on it. It's not an exciting read to me. It's also not greatly compelling, but like, it's a good book, and I know it's a good book, and I don't hate it. So that's how I feel. I know all of that feels contradictory. I don't know. I'm enjoying myself enough, but I'm not passionate about it. And that's what I want it to be about the book. But yeah, anyways, I will talk to you guys a little bit later when I maybe finish it. I do not know, but I need to go make some bread. I'm going to start making my bread for the week. So yeah, talk to you later. Peace. Hello, you guys. I need to finish making my bread. It has done everything it's supposed to do. It really sat in the fridge for about 24 hours, which you only need 7, so it should come out fine. You guys know my sourdoughs haven't been coming out amazing lately. Let's see what this one does. But I was able to finish the Safekeep by Yael Vanderwooden, and I want to give this book like 3.75 stars. This book was perfectly good. Like, I liked the last half more than I liked the first half, and it's one of those books that like really isn't a book that you should like talk about like on the internet, in the sense that like to get the full scope of the book, you have to read the entire book. So I guess to rephrase that, this is a book you need to read all of it, and then I think you have a better like observation on what's going on, and you have better insights on what this book is trying to do. Because I came on here being like kind of boring, not really in it, but once it kept on going and I understood what the story was trying to do, it's actually really well done, really well intentioned. And I'm not trying to spoil anything, because this is a book I think you should kind of go in blind and kind of just read it for what it is. I've never read personally a book that uses objects to tell this type of story, that talks about possession and ownership, sexuality, and who has the right to what, in order to tell a story that this book is trying to tell about the subject matter that this book is about. And I thought that was really clever and really well done. And it really made me think about this subject matter in a different way when talking about not only ownership of your sexuality and your being, but also who you choose to give your sexuality to, who you choose to perform your sexuality with, and that having the same thing to do with like who you give your stuff to, who has ownership of your belongings, what belongs to you. That's the thing. This book asks the question of like what actually belongs to you and what you give to other people, and using sexuality and possessions to do that is really well done. You would have to read this book to understand what I'm really trying to say, but this book is quite clever, and this is the exact type of book they love to give the Women's Prize to. So this book winning the Women's Prize is not shocking, but it's actually really, really well done. It is rare that I read a book that is nominated for the Women's Prize or wins the Women's Prize, and I love it. So I'm not shocked that I didn't love this book, but I did like this book more than I thought I would after the 100-page mark. This was really, really like interesting, and I like the vibe and the air. I'm gonna give it 3.75 because I could have loved it more, but I might log it as a 4, but it wouldn't be a high 4. Like, ooh, this is one of the best books I read this year. Not even one of the best books I read this month. So I feel comfortable with like 3.75. That's that. But anyways, we are going to move on though to The Last House, and hopefully we can get another good solid read, because this didn't disappoint me. This is exactly what I thought I would give this book, honestly. So we're gonna move on to The Last House. I might pick this book up on audio and get through it. We'll find out. We'll see. Anyways, let me get this sourdough percolating. Last time I made the sourdough with you guys, I forgot to cut it. I forgot to put a line through it. Won't be forgetting that today. We're just gonna go right down the middle. Nothing major. That should be more than enough. I have my Dutch oven in the oven because you have to get it really, really hot before you put the sourdough in it. So I have my little thing that you put hot stuff on. And then I'm gonna grab it. Ooh. It is hot in there. And then you just take your parchment in the oven for about 30 minutes and it will be ready, okay? Adios. Okay, Google, set time for 30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes, starting now.
Hello, you guys. I am here to give a little bit of an update on Last House by Jessica Shattuck because I read this book on audio for a few hours when I was traveling, and so I have some initial thoughts. So in this book, we start by following a man named Nick Taylor. He has a family who live in New York City, I believe. And well, he works in New York City. He is an oil lawyer. He comes from very humble beginnings, and he is an oil lawyer, and he has a wife and 2 children. He works in the city, and then he comes home to the suburbs with his family. They live a very boring life. He has a wife, she's a housewife, and that's what they do. Well, one day he gets invited by this dude who works in the CIA to go over to Iran to figure out their government issues, who they're electing, in their government, in order to be able to make sure that American oil companies can get oil because he's an oil lawyer. So he ends up going over to Iran with a CIA agent, and they do some horrible, shady, nasty, shifty shit. The dude's name is Carter. He's important to the story. So, Carter is the person from the CIA who they go over there with. They do all this stuff, and this kind of sets America up to still keep getting oil from Iran and, their Middle Eastern connections. And Nick and his family, they get pretty stable. I wouldn't say they're rich people, but they are they're doing very, very well for themselves. And so one day Carter has a wife. Carter takes Nick and his wife Bet. They go out to the country and they stumble upon this house called Last House where they are staying. Bet takes a very good liking to this house, and they end up buying the house, and Last House ends up being Nick Taylor and his wife's, summer house. Well, they have 2 kids, one named Harry, one named Catherine. And Catherine and Harry are both very, very emotional people in 2 different ways. Catherine is like a fighter, and Harry is more just really sentimental, really he gets really affected by a lot of the stuff that happens around him. So at young ages, they show extreme amounts of empathy. Well, that's important because we then stumble into another time where we are in Vietnam. So before all of this, we are dealing with the H-bomb, communism with Russia and all of that. Now we are in Vietnam in the 1950s. We have Martin Luther King is also making his arrival, and we have Catherine and Harry both realizing that they grew up privileged and white and never understood the world. You have Catherine who gets really into the teachings of Martin Luther King. She starts getting involved in underground organizations. She starts trying to, fight the power to public enemy. She just starts to get involved. She starts getting involved with people who are involved with the Black Panthers. She's in New York City when Martin Luther King dies, and that kind of starts her on her radical journey. And then Harry ends up going off to college in California, I think, and he hates it because he feels like everyone is living in this world where everything is great and amazing, but he's there's a war going on in Vietnam. So he's trying to figure out what he can do to, fight the war in Vietnam, but also not disappoint his parents. So his mind is all over the place, but somehow he ends up in New York City with our girl Catherine, and things happen. And so you have this family that starts off and gets their money through oil, and these two kids that directly resent everything that has to do with American imperialism. And this is kind of the story of all of them together. I'm not including the wife, but I should, because the wife has her own thing. So she also was compromised because during everything going on with Russia in the Cold War, she used to crack codes, secret messages to get people thrown in the slammer. So that's what she used to do. And then she married Nick and they ended up having kids. And so she just became a housewife. And her story is kind of how she also had radical thoughts at a time, but how life slowly beat her into submission to being like everybody else. And so that's the story. Okay, I like this story well enough. I just don't know, and this happens often with me because I am a woman of a lot of opinions, where I don't know if a book wants me to feel a certain way, or do I directly disagree with the message that the book is trying to convey. First things first, you guys, if you know me, I love Martin Luther King. That sounds crazy to start with. I love Martin Luther King. And a common thing that white people like to do is to say that Martin Luther King was anti-violence. He was all about peace. Yeah, if you listen to the earlier works of Martin Luther King. But towards the end of Martin Luther King's death, Martin Luther King is very vocal about the fact that anti-violence may not be the answer. And there's a time to put up or shut up. And so this book talks about how people bastardize Martin Luther King, how Martin Luther King wrote multiple books, but instead of reading those books, people just, do the quotes that, they like to pull from Martin Luther King. But I feel like this book is doing that as well. Acting like Martin Luther King would be necessarily be anti-bombings, anti-public administrations, anti-rioting, getting down to work. That's to completely misunderstand who Martin Luther King was, especially towards the end of his life. If Martin Luther King was really out here being everybody hold hands and let's sing Kumbaya, would they need to kill his ass? No. So I have an issue with that. And then also, maybe I'm just a little too woke for this book as well. This book, and maybe I'm spoiling, but I doubt any of you are going to read this book. The people in her underground organizations start setting off bombs and killing people because that's what happened in real life. During all this time, people believed in a radical politic, and that was to get people uncomfortable. If they can bomb people in Nam, we can bomb people here right in the United States, right? And so this book does this thing where it's just they're bombing people, I want nothing to do with it. It's the message of the book feels like the people who wanted to resist in more, corporate ways, who wanted to actually, get pen to paper to do the resistance, the people who believed in nonviolence, those are the good people. And then everybody else was just being radical and foolish. And I don't agree with that. Especially in the world that we live in, where Gaza is being bombed all of the time. Especially in the world that we live in, where black people's blood is on the American streets, police brutality, everything going on with ICE. I don't believe in this idea that we're all just gonna come together and be oh, you don't like Mexicans? That's okay. That we can still have them in here. We'll figure it out. I don't believe in that. One side is constantly using force against people, and there's this idea that the people who are being harmed just gotta be we'll figure it out. No. So I don't think I agree with the message of this book, unless the message of this book is that our main character is kind of flawed in her thinking. And then another thing that's not working with me in this book there's this black dude that kind of brings our one of our main characters into this leftist radical politic, and he's Obama core. White people love to write characters, especially black main characters that give Obama like the only thing radical about their politic is them being black and nothing else. They have no other radical politic except being black, and that's what this character is, and he's written to be endearing and he's not. So I think I'm too woke for this book. I say that to say this. I think I'm too woke for this book. There's something that happens in this book that I won't spoil, but like we're supposed to see a certain character as a villain because he's the reason why this thing happened. Don't. I don't see him as a villain. Like the worst thing I see him is as cowardly because he wouldn't do it himself. But I don't see him as a villain that this book wants me to see him as. And I will say, as the book goes on, they do add a little bit more complexity to this. You guys, I'm almost done with this book. Like, I literally only have like 7 minutes left of the audiobook. So, like, they do add some complexity to it. This is a book I have to think on. I think, actually, as I keep going on with this vlog, because we do have another book to read, as I keep going on with it, I might go back and read some parts again and like see what this book is truly trying to do, because I don't dislike it. This was something, it was really easy. Like, I want to just come and tell you like it's a 3.75, but I have to think about it some more, and I'm gonna go on Goodreads and read some reviews to see what other people are saying. Like, am I just off base, or did other people have some same issues that I had? Like, also, some of this book feels a little unearned. There's some things that happen at the end that just feel a little bit cheap. Just a little bit cheap. Just a little bit book for book's sake. That's not for me. But yeah, all in all, though, I did enjoy this book. And the next clip, when I start my next book, I'll tell you guys what I eventually end up giving it, because I've talked about this book for like 11 minutes now. So this is just all together my review on this book. But yeah, an interesting one. I don't really read books like this often. I'm happy I picked it up on audio because let me tell you how it's written. We're following different characters as they all kind of, so like we start off and we're reading from Nick and the wife, their POV and what's going on. And then we go into Catherine, who is the best part of the story. That's when the story really picks up for me. But I did like Nick's part too. The stuff going on in Iran. I like the conviction this book has to discuss the CIA and the FBI and what they did to the Black Panthers, what they did in the Middle East to cause all of that unrest. I enjoy all of that. Actually talking about how the CIA, what they did to the radical left, what they did to Martin Luther King. I do enjoy the conviction with all of that, because some people still act like this stuff is a mystery, and it's not. And it's not. So I enjoyed that. The writing is good too. At times, like I said, I just don't think me and the author had the same fundamental beliefs, but that's no issue, right? I'm sure me and most authors don't have the same fundamental beliefs. I don't think that takes away from the book unless it takes away from the book. And sometimes I feel like it does, like the messaging of this book doesn't nail home for me. But yeah, I still have to finish it, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay? Peace. you guys. I am here to give my first updates on Last Couple Standing by Matthew Norman. So in this book, we start with a rundown of this friend group. There was this original 4 friend group. They met in college, great fun. Those 4 ended up dating 4 other people, and they ended up being a group of 8. 4 people who were married to 4 other people, making them a group of 8. Within like a year, 3 of them ended up getting a divorce. So now 3 was married to 3. So now there's only 1 couple left, and that is the last couple standing. We are following Jessica and Mitch. They have been married for about 15 years now. They have 2 kids, and they live a pretty well-off life. They are middle-class people, and they decide that they want to do everything in their power to stay married. They do not want to get a divorce, even though all of their friends are getting a divorce. Their friends keep talking to them about their divorce life and how that is going, and they want nothing to do with it. But our main character, Jessica, she's like, I don't want a divorce, but I do know that like there are things about my husband and my marriage I'm not content with. So Jessica comes up with this idea that they should just start sleeping with other people. Like they don't want to get a divorce. They're not allowed to have a relationship, have a mistress or, all of that, but they can sleep with other people. They can explore other people, have entanglements, if you will. And so that's what this is about. This is about Jessica and Mitch trying to save their marriage by seeing other people. Even though their marriage isn't necessarily on the rocks, they just know that they should try to be happy and create a life that is best for them. So in this book, you follow Jessica and you follow Mitch, and there also are some side characters that you also follow as well as they try to navigate this new normal in their marriage. How do I feel about this book? I want to start by saying this is a book that just scratches all of my itches. This is a book that is just made for Kenya. I always say there are Kenya books and there are anti-Kenya books, and it is rare that I find a book that is just a Kenya book. Like this was written for me, and that is this type of book. You guys know I love a marriage story. I love a marriage story. I love a marriage crumbling story. I love a let's work on our marriage story, especially when it is like erotic, especially when it is like sexual, especially when it hits on the topic of like cheating, being with other, like it's so good. It's so messy and it's so good. And that's what this book is. So even if this book was bad, it would probably be pretty good to me. But as I near, honestly, the last 70 pages of this book, I am really enjoying this book. I like Jessica and Mitch as characters. I like Mitch as a character more than I like Jessica as a character. Mitch, I think, is a little bit more complex. He feels like more of a real human being. Jessica is written like a man who writes a woman. A man wrote this book and it feels like a man is writing a woman, not necessarily making it bad. It's just something about Jessica doesn't read all the way real because I don't think our male writer really knows the interworkings of how women work necessarily. So I think Jessica lacks a lot of nuances in the way that Mitch actually does. And when he's writing Mitch chapters, you can tell he's more at home with Mitch as a character, but Jessica is fine. And this book is really good. It's juicy. It does all the things you expect in a marriage story. These stories kind of all end the same. In the end, it's about finding happiness and finding your joy. And, can we be together? Can we not? And yeah, so it's interesting in that way. This book is also making some interesting stylistic choices, talking about other types of media, talking about Shakespeare, and to, show references to this marriage and how they're alike and how they're saying it's doing some interesting things in this book. The side characters that are in this book seem to be very, very intentional. So that's really good. I will say, number one, remember how just a second ago I was talking about how Jessica and Mitch's marriage isn't on the rocks? I think this book could be longer. This book is only 270 pages, and it could be longer to make this book more interesting because I don't really know much about Jessica and Mitch's relationship relationship, and I'm just kind of going along with it, but it's just like, why are you guys doing this? Like, they never show you, and even in the dialogue, they don't make it seem like there's any reason for Mitch and Jessica to actually do this little relationship thing. So therefore, when they run into hiccups and stuff, you're just like, stop doing this. Like, what is this actually for? So yeah, I think more could be done there. And then this book does jump from POV to POV. Sometimes it's like appreciated, other times it's not. You're just like, what is this in there for? And then, like I said, all of the side characters are interesting enough. There's just not enough time to spend with them. So there's a next door neighbor boy who is interesting. There's a next door neighbor wife who is getting a divorce. She's interesting. The friends of these people, the other friends in the friend group, they're interesting. Everything is interesting on its own. And then there's this girl who's in therapy. Jessica is a therapist, and she has a client who is a student at the school that Mitch works at. Mitch is a school teacher. She's also interesting as well. All of these pieces are really, really interesting. You just don't spend enough time with them to like really get to the meat of what this author is trying to do with all of them. So I know when I finish this book, I'm going to have enjoyed this book because I only have 70 pages left and I'm enjoying myself. But I just think if there was more, if this book was just had more girth to it, there could have just been more. These ideas could have been fleshed out, and it could have been a book that really packed a punch. So it's interesting, but it could be more interesting. And when you're reading it, you can see you're like, oh, I want more of this. I want more of this. Oh, you could have kept that. And so you almost see the inner workings of the book. So it's almost close to being really good, but not quite there. But anyway, I am going to finish it. And then I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm going to show you guys all of the books that I purchased. And then I have some subscription box stuff. So like some end of the month book shopping that I did. And then we're going to go, okay? I'll talk to you guys later. You guys, I'm here to end out this video. I have finished the last couple standing, and I think all of my thoughts remain the same. I think this book could have been longer. This book could have had more meat on the bones. I'm gonna give this book a 3.5 star. The ending of this book has this moment where like all the characters come together, all of their storylines come together, and I just think it could have been better. It could have had a better effect on me if we got to know these characters more, if I felt like I was in the world of these characters. There's so much here, but like I feel like the book wasn't written the way that it should have been written, and I hate feeling that way. Like I feel like the writer of this book didn't want to write the book that he was setting out to write, so he kind of wrote like an outline of the book, and I just thought it was okay. And then it ended a little bit too flowers, you know, sunshine, rainbows, peach cobbler for me to just fully be like, oh, this was a blast. So I am going to give this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still enjoyed myself, and it was a very easy read. I do think it's an end of the summer read. I enjoyed myself, but it just wasn't amazing. 2 other books we read in this video. I came to tell you, did I tell you guys I'm going to give The Last House also a 3.5? Like, it was fine. And then the Safekeep, I'm going to give a 3.75. So in the end, we didn't get anything 4 stars or higher, which isn't great, but I do think all of these books are enjoyable, and I do think all of these books are worth reading, and I will be keeping them in my collection. I could see myself coming back to these books in the future, and definitely recommending them to people because they were interesting reads. They were books that I don't really read often, except for a book like The Last Couple. I'm always looking for books like this. But yeah, I enjoyed myself. Anyways, we need to come and discuss the books that I purchased. So I have 2 book boxes that I got at the beginning of the month that I still have not opened. These 2 book boxes came in the mail so long ago. By the way, I decided to skip. I'm going to skip the September picks for both of these book boxes because it's getting out of control. I have not read a subscription box book in months. When is the last time I did a book of the month video? That is the last time I read a book of the month book. So I have like 4 book of the month books now that I am behind on, and then Aardvark, I haven't read any of them, so I just need to stop get my bearings, and then I'll start back up the subscription. So I just skipped the month. I didn't cancel my subscription. I'm just skipping September for Aardvark, and I skipped Book of the Month. They didn't have anything interesting in Book of the Month anyways. I haven't seen the Aardvark picks yet, so if there's something that I was just dying to get in Aardvark, then sure. But I don't think there's any anticipated books that I've just like been dying to get. I guess maybe if they have like R of Kwong in there, which I don't think they will, but like anyways, Book of the Month. I got my hand, see, this is the issue. I got my hand on the book Seduction Theory by Emily Adrian. I don't even know what this book is about. I haven't even heard anybody talk about this book. I didn't even see anybody else get it in their Book of the Month thing. So like, why did I get it? And so now it's just another book that I'm not heavily excited for. And the this feels, I don't like the way this feels. This has a weird feeling. It's like, it's a texture that really makes my teeth hurt. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, Seduction Theory. And like now this is another Book of the Month book that I have to read that I'm not excited to read. I'm sure it's going to be perfectly good. I usually like do really well on my Book of the Month picks, but it's just like, gotta get to it. Next thing is the Aardvark. This one, now this I did want to read, and this was on my radar, so this was a good pick for me. I got Elaine Costello's Moderation. Boom. I wanted this. I know I wanted it because when I went to the bookstore in this vlog, I saw this book at the bookstore, and I was like, is this my Aardvark pick? I didn't remember, and I'm happy this was my Aardvark pick. So I am excited to get to this one, but this is what I got in my Aardvark box. Now we got to get to Barnes & Noble, because you guys saw I went to Barnes & Noble. And I did damage. The reason why I did damage, I went in there to get like 2 books at most. But then I went to the young adult section. I don't really keep up with what goes on in the young adult world. It's just when I go into the bookstore and see what they have, that is when I'm like, that looks interesting, that looks interesting. So like there's so many books that come out that I just don't get to, and then I see them at the bookstore and I'm like, I have to have them. So I ended up getting, too many. I got 4 young adult books, and I'm excited to read all of them. I can read all of them right now. You guys know I'm a black young adult lover. So these were just right up my alley. Okay, so the first thing I got was by an author named Whitney D. Grandison. It's called Playing Hard. This does not look right up Kenya's alley. I don't know, but I cannot wait to read it. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I got Playing Hard. And then I got Raven K. Stringfield, Love Requires Chocolate. Come on, this just looks so damn cute. And like, that's the thing, I don't know anything about these books during the year to like slowly get them. So it's just like, and then this author has like more books. So yeah, I just had to get this because this just looked so good. Another young adult book I got is a Christmas book. It's by Bialo Bello. We read from this author in the book club, but this is another Christmas book from her, and it's called Only for the Holidays. Cute. I can put it in the book club for Christmas or something like that. This is just something I can read during Christmas. Having a black romance book to read during Christmas is just good, so I had to get that. And then the last book I got was The Education of Kaya Greer. Another black young adult. So if you are a black person and you is writing young adult, more than likely you are going to end up in my home. So I got those 4 books, and that, you know, was me going crazy. And then I got, oh my God, I do too much. Oh, sorry, I got 5 young adult books. I got my hand on Jumped. This was a National Book Award finalist. It's by Rita Williams Garcia. Another young adult book. I read the synopsis of this, and this just seems so fun. And so I had to buy Jumped. And like, this is my problem. Like, this is the problem. This is why I have so many books. This is the problem. Anyways, and then I bought 3 books that were just like books that I had a little bit of an interest in after reading the synopsis. So one was Greenwich. The synopsis seemed interesting. Give me a house on a cover. I'm in, because it gives family dynamics. And you guys know I love a book about family dynamics. It's by Kate Broad. And then I got my hands on The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. This is an Oprah Book Club pick. And the synopsis of this, it just really, you know, it called out to me. And so I said, Let's go. This is a really strange book haul. None of these books I heard about before I went into the bookstore. So all of this is new stuff. None of these were on my... To me, that is the best when you go to the bookstore and you have no clue what you want to buy. But that is how you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. Because then I got a book called Flashlight by Susan Cho. This book... The bookstore person told me that she started it and she was enjoying it. So that's what I got. That is my book haul. I will talk to you guys in the next one.